They're not cages. They're pods and holding areas. Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary. And not your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner from Fox News. You don't believe this one. Biden official asked GOP senators visiting board to delete photos from facilities. Senator Braun and 18 of his Republican colleagues, including Ted Cruz from Texas, inspected the holding center this week. Now, is it just me, before I get into this story, you see here Peter Doocy in the top right in the picture there with Psaki, the press secretary. Is it just me, or does she have that weird, condescending, or just like a cult member look? Like she's like a little robot. I haven't seen her show any emotion. It's really weird. I mean, it's just me. Maybe because I don't particularly care for the Biden administration. Maybe I'm a little biased towards her, but I don't know. Something about her doesn't sit right. Anyway, let's continue on. Senator Braun says southern border is a mess under President Biden. Talks about his recent trip to the southern border on March 27th. Senator Mike Braun, Republican from Indiana, told Fox News that a Biden official asked Republican senators to delete photos they took at a border facility they were touring on Friday. Braun originally made the remarks to the Washington Examiner. There was one of Biden's representatives. I was sorry for the lady because she actually talked to me about deleting a picture. But by the time she got to me, all those other pictures were taken. That shows you the hypocrisy, Braun told the Examiner, of a migrant processing and holding center in Donna, Texas. Now, I want you to think for a minute. This is probably one of the better pictures. If this was Donald Trump, what do you think would happen? It'd be everywhere. It'd be MSNBC, CNN, ABC, CBS, NBC, the old legacy media. Everywhere. Every website calling him a monster and a creep and just horrendous stuff, 10 times worse than that. But what do we get now? We get this. And here's the weird part. I believe it was a lady from CNN asked President Biden when they could go down and look. He says, not now. She says, okay, when? He says, I don't know. When we get everything straightened out. In other words, when we get our crap together and this cluster blank is settled because of a crisis he made, well, they call that a self-inflicted injury. Then we'll show you some pictures, but it's all pristine and nice. My God, if Donald Trump did that, but it'd be 24/7. None of us would have gotten down there if we were going to be muzzled, said Braun, who added that Border Patrol also last had no photos were taken, but they were telling us that because they had to, because they were instructed to, they were ordered to, I should say. Braun and 18 of his Republican colleagues, including Ted Cruz, inspected the holding center in which 700% capacity amid a surge in migrants. 700%. 7 times. The photos showed children sleeping on the ground in a closed area. Look at this. And Trump's the monster? He had it worked out with the countries in South America and Mexico. They stay on the other side and apply for asylum just like everybody else does legally. This is what I've been saying from the beginning. These are unaccompanied minors. I hear stories about when families send a girl north through God knows how many hundreds, if not thousands of miles to get to the American border. I forget what drug it is they give her. So that way they know she's going to be RAPE, because I don't want the algorithm to pick it up. You know, that's going to happen to her. So she won't get pregnant. It's insane. Illegal immigration hurts everyone. It hurts the people that are involved in it, like these people. the illegal migrants that come up. It hurts them badly. It hurts the country as a whole. It's a lose, lose, lose. And only a lose, lose, lose situation could a Democrat take credit for and call it progress. Broad told the Examiner as a group stopped at border agents at the edge of the Rio Grande, where migrants often try to illegally cross. He says there was a group of coyotes who guide migrants across the border for money, jeered at the group in Spanish. All of a sudden, to hear from the other side of the river, taunting from the smugglers and counties, most of it in Spanish, telling the border guards that whatever you do, we're coming, said Braun. Yeah, they are. That kind of hit home in such an anecdotal way because it is one story that is kind of a metaphor for what's happening up and down the border. Yeah, the border's open. Come on in. Now, I'm trying to do this from memory. Around 1914, we stopped open immigration. I personally, my personal opinion, I'd have open immigration tomorrow under one caveat. You have to get rid of all social programs. All of them. You can't have a smorgasbord of social programs and open immigration. It is a formula for disaster. These images of migrant children were taken on March 26th at the Dunn U.S. Customs and Border Protection Facility. Took the pictures while touring the facility with GOP senators. I mean, look at this. Come on. I mean, seriously. Will they watch it on TV? CNN? Probably. Who knows? Maybe it's Telemundo. Who the hell knows? Brought after visiting the facility, penned a letter to the president imploring him to visit the border. Still hasn't gone down yet. The letter obtained first by Fox News includes pictures Braun took Friday during his visit of a U.S. Customs and Border Protection facility in Texas. The images show migrants jammed into pods at the processing facility and children sleeping on mats on the floor. Oh, they're not cages. They're pods and holding areas. Just like Attica State Prison here in upstate New York is a holding facility. The crisis surrounding the surge makes it a moral imperative that for you to see firsthand what is happening and not the sanitized version of the border tour taken by some of my congressional colleagues, Braun wrote. Having personally gone this week, I can testify this as being inhuman, unsustainable, and dangerous. Now, I can't say from history, just prior to mid-20th century, there was a country that had people detained, that took tours. There was no United Nations back then, but European countries went and toured these camps and saw how wonderful they were and how well these people were being treated. Can't say who they are because the algorithm will pick it up and this video will be taken down or shadow banned. But we all know. We get to see the sanitized version. Well, they wanted to see the real version. They're sitting U.S. senators. They have the right. There are more than 18,000 unaccompanied minors in either Border Protection or Health and Human Services custody as of Thursday, according to Homeland Security records. 18,000 unaccompanied minors. By law, children are not supposed to stay in the processing facility for more than 72 hours before being transferred to HHS shelters specifically designed for care for children. But the surge of migrants at the border has overwhelmed the process centers and caused delays. Now, why is there a surge? Well, Biden said, I never said come in, come in, come in. Please don't come. Please don't come. BS. There's plenty of video out there that says, come on in, come on in, come on in, when he was running for president. I know why President Biden doesn't want the media to be here, because we do have an open border. So Jamie Langford, Republican of Oklahoma, said Friday after visiting the facility. If you're an unaccompanied minor, you were sent over to the Donna facility, which we went over and visited. That facility is designed for 80 people in a pod, not a holding cell, a cage, as they used to call them, a pod. And they have 709 people. That's almost 10 times. We'll run it down. It's 9 times what it can hold. Literally wall to wall, and every one of these little plexiglass cells that they have people flooding out into the hallway, Langford said. They're pods, they're plastic holding areas. They're not cages, though, because that would be inhumane. How many times did President Trump get pounded and pounded and pounded and pounded and pounded and pounded, separating children from their families, kids in cages? Well, the cages were built on the Obama administration, they found out later. But I mean, he never covered that. Just like never covered Hunter Biden's fiasco. Now we hear about a fiasco with him again. Getting a gun license and a gun after he committed a felony. You and I would be in jail. But I digress. There's a separate set of rules for these people than there are for Republicans. And that isn't just Donald Trump. And I have to say, in all fairness, the Republicans, most of them, have no spine. They've been letting Democrats get away with this hypocrisy like this and hundreds of other issues for 20, 30, 40 years plus. I'm 64. They've been letting them get away with it since I was a kid. So why? This picture would have been everywhere. And the outrage would have been deafening. But what do we get now? One simple reason why we get crickets is because the current president has a D in front of his name. And that, folks, is the way it goes. This is horrendous. It's out of control. It's difficult to guard a border that big. President Trump was putting up walls, entry points where you can apply for asylum legally. My father's parents came over from Italy. They say, well, John, you're being a hypocrite. Your grandparents were immigrants. They came here legally. They went through the process. They filed the paperwork. They paid the fees, the lawyers, all the stuff you do. And sometimes it takes a long time. Ask somebody now if they go through the process, how long it takes and how much money it costs. But these people just get the crowd in front of the line. I don't understand the strategy of the Democrats. I don't. Obviously, these kids aren't going to vote Democrat for a long time. They don't plan 20 years ahead. The adults that come up too, most of them don't vote at all. Well, maybe some do now. I can't use the word I want to say because that and YouTube will shadow ban or take off this video. And I got a warning now because of a Time magazine article that came out last year that I reported on. Can't even do that anymore. It entices violence. Jesus. Look at this. There would be hell to pay. I don't understand the strategy, like I said. There's only one thing I can think of. They're trying to disrupt everything in the border states, which are mostly red. But the real thing, I think, the only thing that makes any sense at all is to have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of illegals here that will work for peanuts for major corporations, billion-dollar corporations that own the Democrat Party. This is not the Democrat Party that I belonged to when I was a city councilman in the early 2000s. That looked out for union workers and blue-collar workers. Those days are over. The Democrat Party now is now the party of the multinational corporations. And they make tons of money off of cheap illegal labor. Let's look at all the stuff that they sell from the Uyghurs and the slave factories and everywhere else in the world. It's a sin. It's disgusting. But there it is. So all you Biden voters are out there that hated President Trump, what do you think now? And until next time, folks, goodbye and good luck.